Hey everybody, this is Mark from the Eddsworld team. Today we have a very special guest. He's been involved with Eddsworld from the very beginning, working his way up to writer and producer. He's the voice of Tom, among other characters in the Eddsworld universe. And on his YouTube channel, TomSka, he's known as the creator of Asdiff Movie and Crash Zoom. He's the one, the only, Tom Ridgewell. Say hello, Tom.
Hello, that was one of my favorite introductions I've ever had. It was very flattering.
Oh,
Although, one thing that's kind of worth noting is that by the time this comes out, I will no longer be the voice of Tom in Eddsworld, which is a somber note to start on. Oh no.
Well, I guess it could be like a sort of sentimental thing.
Yeah, like make it like black and white, like zoom in on my face, like Tom Ridgewell, 2003 to 2016. So, gotcha. Implying died at the age of 13, as you do.
Right. So, this isn't on my list, but I just gotta know. In the beginning, what was with that eyebrow?
Conveniently, what I actually have right here is I have these original sketches which I pulled out. Have you seen the old animation Ed Again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what initially happened was like I was like, oh, I love you, Ed, you're so cool, and I basically just drew my character in that style. I drew myself in that style. When I was like 13, 14. And Ed's immediate reply was like, you have just ripped off my style. And so to prove that I wasn't a plagiarist, I was really into a cartoonist called Gary Larson, who did a comic called The Far Side. And he drew just lines for eyes on a lot of his characters. So literally all I did was take my original drawing and then just add a line. Now it is my original character. It was essentially... I was an Eddsworld kid, is the short answer to the story.
I was like, steal.
I was the first Eddsworld kid, which I can say unequivocally. And then I did a Halloween-y version, which is actually the version that went into the first ever Eddsworld. It went into the Halloween.
That was the
special.
best of the worst? When the best of the worst collide?
Well, I guess technically, yeah. It went into... I'm just going to lean over. It went into the Halloween special. The best of the worst version is... I think that's this version. I conveniently have a lot... No, it wasn't, but I conveniently have a lot of stuff on my desktop right now because I've been researching everything. Documentary and that.
Oh, I didn't realize you were done.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, that's me. I just trail off.
So, you said before you were a fan of Ed's work before you became involved with Eddsworld. I remember you said that Ed made you sign a contract in MS Paint.
Yes.
But, could you elaborate more on how you got involved?
I can indeed. Let me just... I have an idea that might make this an interesting audio-visual experience. Where is that contract? I'm going to find that contract and I'm going to show it to you because it's just really quite funny.
Exclusive.
Yeah, Elliott's probably going to blow the contract open first in the documentary. So if you can get this out like tomorrow, then you win.
I'll take it.
Elliott is very... I'm very proud of Elliott and his documentary. Like, it's absolutely dope.
Oh, well, he's a terrific editor from what I've seen.
Oh my god! Like the amount of hours dropped into this documentary is ridiculous.
You hear that, Elliott?
No. What's that? I actually didn't hear.
He said you're a terrific editor.
Oh, thank you.
He's also eating a cookie, so he can't possibly reply.
Oh, right, can't interrupt a man when he's eating a cookie.
Obviously not.
Common knowledge. I, Tom, hereby agree. I shall be a member of the Eddsworld Elite Force. I accept my responsibilities as an animator, drawer, and email answerer. If I ever quit, I shall stick a gun to my head and I kill myself, or I will just stop animating full stop. Signed, Tom R.
So obviously, I think being that I am quitting, I think I am gonna go with the just stop animating option, because the whole suicide thing is pretty raw. Yeah, but that's kind of like I'm so happy I found that. It's so weird. I'm thinking of getting it framed. Like, then again, it's literally a testament to me not keeping a promise. But I've done my best. Damn it.
So while Ed was still around, like while you were working on the show with him, what was the production process like?
It was really, really weird. Because obviously we lived so far away. I think the kind of golden era of Eddsworld was
or
actually
golden era.
Ooh, era on it. I think the best period for Eddsworld, because I think Eddsworld had 3 waves. Wave 1 is like 2004 to 2000 and kind of like 7, and that's the Tord era. That's the kind of original era. That's the Tord era. Wave 2 begins with kind of like Tord leaving. It's the kind of that's also the first time that we have the Eddsworld jingle, and that runs up until obviously about 2011, and then Wave 3 is Eddsworld Legacy.
It's a good way to look at it, actually.
Yeah. And what was I saying before this? Because I legitimately already forgot.
The golden era.
Yeah. But, oh yeah.
The production process.
Yeah, the production process. So the production process then was actually the kind of like quite strange, because I was up in Lincoln, Ed was down in London, which is a good like 100+ mile difference. So pretty much all the work we did on Eddsworld at least would be from afar. And so there would be some episodes where I wasn't even involved at all, like Hammer and Fail 1 and 2, which are some of the best Eddsworld episodes, I actually have pretty much nothing to do with. That was written by Ed and a friend of mine at uni called Tom Bown. And my only contribution to Hammer and Fail Part 1, I think, was I was told to do the what are our neighbors one or something, and I was like, I'm going to say what are our neighbors one, and then Ed, you should animate me high-fiving myself. And all I remember is that Bound hated that. He was like, you ruined it! He was so angry about it. But no, so basically the process, sorry, I keep getting distracted. The process was that we would, I kept trying to be like, Ed, we need scripts. And he wasn't having it. So really most of the Eddsworld episodes, especially in the first and second wave, were Ed would be like, would do a first scene, and then around about the time he starts finishing that first scene, would then think of what happens in the second scene.
Yeah, Ed seemed to me like one of those people who just be like, who come up with an idea like they'll go to hell, and then he'll be like, this happens and then this happens. That's what it seemed like to me.
Crazy workaholic, and would literally like, like what would happen is he'd fit. So like, there were literally times when he'd finish an animation at, because I have loads of all the original files, and you'll see like the SWF file for like one episode will be at like 6 p.m. and then the FLA file for the next project will be started at like 6:30 p.m. Like literally, he would finish it and then upload it to Newgrounds and then immediately just start work on the next episode. Like he was an absolute machine. But I was more like, Ed, let's calculate things a little bit more. Let's write an actual narrative, because it was great. Like the narratives on some of the old Eddsworld episodes are just amazingly thin. I love them, but my God, like I just love how like it's Hello Hellhole is my favorite. Just how the narrative in violent air quotes flows. It's like they try to watch a DVD, but the TV explodes. So then they just decide to Google how to go to hell, and then they go to hell, and then they do some things in hell, and then they leave.
Yeah,
like
much.
There is no conflict, there is no arc. Like, I mean, like, how about, like, pretty much off the top of my head, like, how about Ed goes, like, oh no, our TV is dead. We can't watch the movie now. Where's the we need to go to hell and retrieve the soul of our TV so we can watch the movie. At least then there is like a beginning, a middle, and an end. But no, they just the TV exploded for no reason. Let's go to hell.
They just feel like it.
They just feel like it, and like obviously that's what people like regard as the charm of Eddsworld. But like, as much as I love the charm of Eddsworld, just like the part of me that has grown into like a storyteller is like I can't do it. There has to be a point to things. But yeah, that's what happens.
You don't have to explain why there's a separate room for Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, well, that would be an example of me just being like, I want my joke here. Like, let's put my joke here and stuff. But yeah, I think I can't remember what the first episode was where I was like, I opened up a text document and I wrote out the narrative, and I was like, Ed, we're gonna at least follow this structure for this episode. Like, this episode's gonna have a point. I want to say it was Movie Makers or Santa Claus 3.
I think I read it somewhere that your favorite episode was Movie Makers, because I think that was like the first one you had the most direct involvement in.
Yeah, it's Movie Makers. Yeah, it was Movie Makers. And what that episode was is it's kind of like the it's like a kind of like a crash zoom kind of beta as well. Like it's like kind of what would then go, what like that structure is what I really want to do with Crash Doom. The actual episode that I had the first episode I had the most involvement was Spares. Like I was a part of that from I was quite a big part of that. But Movie Makers was the first one where I really laid out the plot, and then Santa Claus 3 was the next one where I had a very big hand in it.
I remember in Spares you did the music for that.
I did a lot of music, yeah, in Spares, and I wrote a lot of it as well. Yeah, so like my biggest involvement was basically Spares, and then Movie Makers, and then Santa Claus 3, and then it was Space Face. So like I didn't do Hammer and Fail, for example. I didn't do What the Future. What the Future, I think, was pretty much just all Ed. Like I'd chip in here and there, but there would be points like where I was at university where I was just super busy, and Ed would just still be working away. Like he wouldn't slow down for anyone. So I just I'd blink and he'd be working on another episode, and then he'd give me lines, and I'd usually just do different lines because I was difficult. But yeah, that was it. So it's kind of like a weird process, but really the process most of the time was, oh, Ed's doing an animation. Oh my god, he won't stop.
If I could say something, Movie Makers is my favorite episode.
No, stop it. Thank you. Yeah, that's like I think that's like one of the first times where we get like a narrative that has a. No, actually, I don't think it is. But yeah, I like Movie Makers a lot. It's one of the longest episodes as well, and it's just quite fun.
About the writing process, is it true that you wrote your own lines while Ed wrote everything else, or did you just mostly ad-lib yours?
So Ed was like when Eddsworld started, Ed was very fine to like really share credits with people. So like if you go way back to like 2005, like the Eddsworld behind the scenes from 2005, like Ed is like written by Todd, Tom, and Ed and stuff. And then as things progressed, he started being more stingy with credits. Despite the fact that we would get more involved, he would be like, written by Ed, created by Ed. I don't know what happened. Maybe he just... I honestly don't know, but... So like, I struggle to remember like sometimes like how much I was involved in certain episodes. But yes, definitely like in a lot of episodes, like I would at least change my lines. Like episodes like Ruined, I know for a fact that like I never did a single line that Ed told me to do. I would just kind of write something different, and then like if I were really lucky, he'd put in like everything written by Ed except Tom's lines.
I remember. I think Ruined had.
I think it is Ruined, like except Tom's lines written by Tom, because that was Ed just like not wanting to like give up any creative control. And I mean, this is fine. But it's just kind of like funny and endearing to me now. Yeah, it's just weird. But like, yeah, the episodes I can't like. I look at the Eddsworld thumbnails, and I do know which episodes I had like a hand in, like a big hand in. Like, yeah, and there are some like, well, there are the shorts, for example. I would never know they were coming, pretty much. Like,
just release them spontaneously out of
like
nowhere.
Staring Contest, Dental Appointment, Nuts, like all of these things. They would just be like, oh, that's online now. Like, if my voice isn't in it, there's a good chance I had no idea he was making it. Yeah.
You were in the Dental Appointment short, weren't you? You were the teeth.
Oh, yeah, I am. Yeah, actually, you're right. I do play the tooth. Man, you're better at this than I am.
Well, I have been called the king of the Eddsworld fan base, and I don't think it's true. Well,
I don't think it'd be that hard to be the king of the Eddsworld fan base, being that there's not that many dudes in it. Well, picking the queen of the Eddsworld fan base, now that would be difficult.
Very, very, very difficult.
There is a few. There is a few.
So obviously, after Ed passed away, you pretty much took on the role of showrunner for Eddsworld. When you took over, did you what was your thought process? Did you try to recreate like the kind of feel that Ed's term had, or did you just want to make it your own and try to make it better than before?
See, this is a really, really interesting question, because I don't really entirely know. Like literally the morning Ed died, like I was woken up by a phone call from his mum, and like instead of like the first thing I did, because I had Paul had moved into my apartment because he was supposed to be living with Ed, but because Ed had cancer, Paul had moved into Ed's room in my apartment, and like the first thing I did was I went downstairs. I immediately got out my laptop. I started emailing Ed's management. I was calling like the people in control of like his finances and stuff. And then I had to break the news to Paul and his now wife. And and basically the first thing I just did was like, was I just that was the point at which I think I became like a good friend to Ed, like, which sounds horrible, but it's true. You know, like I'd never been able to be Ed's best friend because I lived so far away. Like Matt was Ed's best friend. They went to school together. They went to uni together. They, you know, when they were at uni, they lived together. But for me, I was always just like his friend and his creative partner. And I'd moved down to London to become essentially his best friend, but he never even got to move in with me. And I think like I actually started becoming a very good friend to Ed, like when he passed away. And part of that, you know, well, I knew that everything was so up in the air when Ed passed. Like, the first thing I was tasked with doing, like his mum asked me to let, you know, his friends know that he'd, like, you know, she was going to take care of, like, you know, her end of things, her friends and that, and my job was to let like his friends know, and I did, and like Matt eventually came over, and between us we let kind of all of Ed's friends know. The only person we couldn't get through to was Tord. We had no details for Tord, which was just awful.
And then he came out with that video, and
he did, and I hate that he had to find out about it through that video. Like, the reason why, you know, we reached out to him, basically, I formally announced, like, behind the scenes, I announced, Talking Business, I announced a 2-day embargo on talking about Ed's death, so that we could make sure that because he was such a public figure, so that we could make sure that everyone who knew him personally could find out before the internet. So, you know, I had like friends who'd made, you know, videos about it, and I was like, you can't upload this yet, you can't upload this yet, like, we need to reach out to everyone first, and so like I remember I had Matt round, and we were trying to film. Sorry, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. We tried to film this video directly to camera, you know, the R.I.P. Ed Gould video, and there's this footage of like me and Matt talking to camera, and, you know, we'd stumble up on our lines, or, you know, I wouldn't be happy with it, or it'd be like a car horn or something. And the final take is when, like, I lose it and I crush a glass in my hand, and then throw what's left of it against the wall. And at that point it was like, okay, I think I'm just gonna script something and then and edit it together. It was just awful.
To be fair, the final product did turn out pretty good.
Yeah, that was one of the weirdest. Those were the weirdest projects I ever think I had to make. Was the Your Eulogy video and the R.I.P. Ed Gould video, because both of those videos, you know, there was a part of me that was so kind of like, just I was in autopilot at that point, and I was just like, I just wanted to make the right video. I wanted to do a good job, and so there's a part of me that's like, what's hella sad? And it was awful. Like, I had to, but I think I did. Yeah, like, they're effective videos, if nothing else. The Your Eulogy video wasn't really planned to go online. It was just planned to be played at the funeral. But then I was like, well, you know, being that it's so full of the audience, because when Ed died, like, we never said like, hey, you should make videos about what Ed meant to you, but about 100 people just did, and it was intense. And it was kind of amazing, and I was so moving that I was like, the people at the funeral need to see this. You know, there's going to be like grandparents and that will have no idea like what Ed really did, and it meant a lot to me to show people that. I ran tech for Ed's funeral, and that was a weird thing. But anyway, so like there was not really a big plan though. The plan was like, oh, we're going to finish Space Face Part 2. We're going to finish Space Face Part 1 and Part 2. A lot of people came forward, said they'd help out, but then I may be misremembering this a little bit, but then Ed's mum was kind of like, Ed wanted you to continue the show. Like, me and Ed had talked about it, but we'd never like formally made plans, because we never even accepted that he was gonna die. And Ed's mum was like, Ed wanted the show to continue. I'm gonna give you and Matt the money that the show is making. I'm gonna give you the money. Give you control of the bank account, and then you make the show with that. And when she said that, I immediately kind of just snapped back with, no. I don't feel comfortable taking the money the show's making. I would rather make sure the money the show makes goes to charity, and then I'm going to do a fundraiser. And I just jumped right into it, like, without even thinking. And I kind of came home. I went straight to Paul. I was like, "We're going to do a fundraiser. How much money?" And we talked about budgets, and my God, we were wrong. But
like, how long did it take to get those perks out?
Eddie, how long until we finish getting those perks out?
Work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
Wow.
Like literally, I will be finished with Eddsworld as of March 16th, but Eddie won't. He's gonna be the last remaining kind of like. He still has to because we've had to wait for everyone to reach out because we've been trying to reach out, find out what people have missed. Like we could have cut it off by now, but we have formally cut it off now actually. But there's still people that miss things that like didn't reply to the first 20 emails chasing them about it. But yeah, so we're just we now have the final list of things. We've actually just ordered in a final batch of like Toaster Brains 2 and stuff, and we're going to be shipping out everything over the next couple of weeks. It's basically crazy. But yeah, so basically that wasn't the initial plan. The plan was just to finish Space Phase Part 2. But then it just evolved, and it was like we'll do 4 episodes, and then people over donated, so it was like okay, we'll do 5 episodes, and then 5 shorts. Oh my god! And here we are, like on pretty much the, in less than 48 hours, that the final episode will be out now.
So it basically started out as just you wanting to finish that episode that Ed didn't get finished, and then you just went into Eddsworld Legacy, and then eventually decided to make more of them because you're getting so much money.
I talk about it in the documentary. Essentially, what Eddsworld Legacy was grief comes in 5 stages, and the first stage is denial. Eddsworld Legacy was denial. It was like, no, it's fine, everything's fine, and it's all still good. It's like me super gluing a smashed vase together. Like it was, and then I had to go through. But then the problem was that then I started going through all the other 4 stages of grief during Eddsworld Legacy, and that's why there was like this. That's why like my attitude got really bad, and there was this massive hiatus, and it was good fun. But yeah. So anyway, going back to your original question, my God,
it was really. I was really getting invested in what you're talking about.
But going back to your original question though, about like were we trying to replicate Ed's style? Like it was more like I was trying to keep the standard going that I'd finally implemented into Space Phase Part 1, because Space Phase Part 1 and Part 2 are episodes I'd both written. Just Space Phase Part 1. Ed had signed off in his entirety. Like he was like, "This is great. Like let's just do this." Like he didn't even have notes for it, and he just got to work with it. And if he hadn't signed off on Space Phase Part 1 completely by the time he passed away, then I would have had no confidence to believe that I could possibly write in a way that he'd be happy with. But obviously the truth is, we went into it knowing that I was never going to be able to replicate Ed's style. And one of the reasons there was such a big hiatus was because I went a bit mad trying to think like Ed. So there did come this point where it was like, I need to start, trying to do Eddsworld justice, but also writing the stuff that I can write, because otherwise it was just crap. Like, like what people don't see is the stuff that is the jokes that didn't come out, the stuff that didn't get released. And I think I mentioned this in like a vlog or something, but the way I described it is, in any other situation, if you went to a psychiatrist and said, "Doctor, I can't hear the voices anymore," they'd be like, "Well, good." But with Eddsworld, what happened was, for about the first 3-4 months after Ed died, I was okay. Like I was still writing, but then suddenly I got hit by a wall, and I haven't been able to write on my own ever since.
And that's when Eddie over there came aboard, right?
That is when I started working with Eddie. And that's still the case.
He's very good, by the way. Very good at what he does.
Stop.
Not just saying that.
Thanks, dude.
But other than like individual gags, which is why I still do like things like Astor movie on my own. Other than individual gags, I don't write on my own anymore. Like I get really freaked out for some reason. I get really anxious, and the characters don't talk to me anymore. Like when I wrote Space Phase Part 2, it was the easiest thing I had ever done in my life. Like you have no idea, because I'd set up this situation, and then it was just like, oh, what would Matt do in this situation? Oh, and now what would Tom say? And it was just, and the characters were just alive, and they were like, oh, I'd say this, I'd do this, and it was amazing. And I wrote that script in about an hour and a half, and that was the final draft. And then they just went quiet around about the time that I was writing Snoga, I think. And then suddenly everything just just went dead silent, and I didn't. And the characters never spoke to me after that, and that's when I had to get Eddie in, and I kind of broke. I really broke down midway through. Actually, no, it was midway through writing Fun Dead. I had the basics, and I just couldn't do it anymore, and I couldn't think like Eddsworld anymore, and so after that, it was kind of like I know we've been doing our best, but I know it isn't quite right, but it is what we can write, and it is frustrating because when people say it, I know to an extent, I disagree a lot of the time, but I know they are in a sense right, because a lot of the criticisms Eddsworld receives, other criticism it's been receiving since 2005, to be honest. It's not it's quite rare that we hear something new, but when they criticize directly our direction or our writing, that's strange. Not strange, that actually makes that they are, to an extent correct. Because we can't write like I would have written with Ed, because I'm not writing with Ed now, I'm writing with Eddie. Because Ed would do random stuff that I would never even think of. He would just come out with very different suggestions, very different things.
Yeah, like in moving targets, when they fall into the enemy base, you would just have a hippo fall on Tord for some reason.
Yeah, I would never just I mean, I get the joke. No, actually, it wouldn't have been a hippo, but that's still that's the kind of joke that it makes sense, because it's oh, they land on one end of the seesaw. Oh, he landed on the other end. What's going to happen? Oh, nothing. Oh my God, a hippo.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
But then again, but the truth is, what's funny is that's classic Eddsworld, right? But if I did that, if I wrote that exact same joke, people would be like, oh, what is this Astaf movie bullshit? This random lol hippo falls on him. Ugh. Tom's made it Tom's World. I hate that. I hate when people say Tom's World. It really annoys me, because it's well, yeah, I mean, to an extent, obviously it is going to be a bit Tom's World, because I'm writing it. There's no way around that. But I don't think that I have tried to make myself the main character. I mean, one thing we've tried to do is actually make the characters actually characters, as opposed to their real-life counterparts, which is one of the reasons why, the characters evolved so much as they did, as they went on, because they were literally evolving with the person. Tord as a character, one thing I want to make clear is that when we started Legacy, that was a very definitive cutoff point. The characters are no longer the real life people, because I can't be Tim as Ed Gould. Ever since that point, I did change the characters, and that was intentional, because it was these can't keep being real people, especially not if one of the people is dead. And that was the point at which they became characters. That was when we made a conscious decision to be okay, what makes Matt a character? What makes Ed a character? And Ed was the hardest, because Ed was a strange character. He was just a main character that didn't really want to be there, and had
good way to put it.
And his definition, and the way if you described Ed by things other than what he liked, you'd really struggle, to be honest. He likes cola and drawing and bacon. Yeah, that's the thing, is that it would just change depending on Ed at the time. And then when Legacy came around, it was okay, we need to make these people characters now, because otherwise it does get kind of weird that we're still puppeteering this representation of Ed Gould. And it was okay, let's make it the character of Ed. So that's one of the reasons why it did change a bit. Yeah. If there was a question in there, it's gone, man. I'm rambling like heck. I'm really scatterbrained.
All right, that's fine. So you've been pretty much in charge of the show for a little almost 4 years now. What's been your favorite part about working on the show, whether under your and Eddie's supervision or under Ed's supervision, and what's been your least favorite part?
Yeah, I guess I do talk quite negatively a lot. I guess I'm just quite stressed. But what's been the favorite part? I think the most amazing thing, and this is, please don't take this wrong, but the most amazing thing ever was when Ed passed away, was the humanity that it brought out in the internet. When you ignore the trolls, obviously, the fact that 100 people came forward, made videos about what Ed meant to them, and the fact that all these people came forward for the fundraiser, which I really didn't think was going to work. and just the support and the love, and that's been repeated again with the end part 2, because I've had very public falling outs with so many people in the online, especially the animation community, and every single one of them absolutely jumped at the chance to be a part of the end, regardless of our personal grievances. And it was and everyone's been so kind and lovely, and that's like, that's the most, that to me is just so beautiful, that the Eddsworld and Ed and his legacy was this sense of community and creativity and love. And like, I've never made anything that's done that. Like, Astor's movie, what the hell did that ever inspire in children to say everybody do the flop and then fall on their face? Because there's a lot of videos of that on YouTube. They're quite funny, especially when they're 6.
Inspire children to say, I like trains, and hoping trains come over and run people over that they don't like.
Yeah, it's so, exactly, but the point is, like, I haven't really done much, but Ed has, and I think that's absolutely incredible. So Eddsworld, the best thing ever is that it, and it's sad that, obviously it's terrible that we only found this out when Ed died, but like, the amount of good that Eddsworld has done, and the amount of love that has radiated because of it is just astounding to me, and I think that's the best part about it. And obviously the worst part about it is that exact same thing again, was Ed dying. Like, I mean, it's kind of a given. Like, I know you were probably looking for an answer like, oh, I didn't like having to record this line, but
well, knowing you, I was expecting a completely different answer.
But like, obviously,
and you gave it to me, so thank you.
You're welcome. The worst thing ever, though, was obviously like losing Ed, and it was just so pointless. Is how I feel about it. Like, Ed dying removed the purpose from my life, to be honest. Like, the whole point of what I'd been doing in my life. Like, I like to consider myself like, my hope was to be like kind of the brains of Eddsworld. Ed was the heart and I was the brains. He had the love and the passion and the magic, and I was the guy who was going to help him turn this thing into, like, I was going to give him guidance, and I was going to, and together we would have created amazing things. And it wasn't just Eddsworld. We were planning on making other stuff as well. And like, I just kind of like, there was just no point really to my life when Ed died. I just kind of do stuff now. I just make videos because it's what I'm good at, and it's just what I do. But a lot of the time, I don't really, I'm not ungrateful, of course, but it's like the purpose is kind of gone, the magic, and there's a part of me that kind of hopes I can get that back once I move on from Eddsworld.
Well, you got like a Crash Zoom.
Crash Zoom is great, but it's never going to be Eddsworld. It's I think it's lovely, and I really hope it does have a fandom, and I'm really proud of it. But Eddsworld was something that Ed and I and like Matt, we were all building since we were children, and to quote the Animal World / Twilight, I guess I imprinted on Ed. Like, he was my partner, and everything we were doing was together, and then he selfishly goes and dies. Unbelievable. And then it's just like, well, shit, what's the point? Like, when how like when old people, when one of them dies, like the other one usually follows shortly after. It kind of felt like that.
Young man.
But it kind of felt like that creatively. Like, it was just like, oh, well, my reason for creating is kind of gone now. Shit. I'd been building up something and it was gone. So obviously that was the worst part. And yeah, it's just really shit. And I just really hope that when I moving on from Eddsworld, because one of the reasons I have to move on is because I can't grieve Ed, because I'm constantly thinking about him, not as a person, but as an entity, as a show. He's like a boss. He's like my boss that I can't speak to or hear. Now I know what religious people feel like. And I'm always worried about what he'd think, but he's not here to think it or say anything, and I need to move on. Like, yeah, like, I haven't even been able to like move his ashes into an urn, like, because he's still alive to me, but it's not the good kind of alive anymore. It's not the alive where it's like, oh, he's in here, he's not in here, he's in here, and that's all. And it's awful. It's too loud. having another voice doubting you and stuff. It's not nice. So yeah, I'm hoping that I can take it out of here and put him in here instead. That's not where my heart is. That's my poop in here. But anyway, that was very deep.
Well, you never know. Some things happen over time.
Yeah, man. Maybe I'll get like nice Ed-shaped man boobs. I don't know what I'm saying.
I imagine Matt's heart might be shaped like the Matt Christmas ornament from Santa Claus 3.
Maybe.
Who
Yeah.
knows? Delicious Christmas. But if you really look at what the show has done, you see that it's created a massive, and loyal, dedicated fan base. You get like the weird ones most of the time, but
How
it's
could you? There's
Right.
no such thing, of course.
but it's generally been very loyal and supportive for everything that you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even myself, someone who's actually gotten the opportunity to work on the show. Thanks, by the way, really had fun doing that.
Of course.
Fans have done a lot of comics and like animations online. Even my friend Jared's doing a webcomic called Mini Eddsworld.
Sure.
She wanted me to mention that to you.
Oh, I think I've seen a bit of that. Maybe has it been? I saw someone posting something about Mini Eddsworld like earlier today. So
That might have been her.
yeah, I think that's amazing. Like I love that. I love all the creativity and stuff, and I love the as literally the first ever Ridgewell kid, because I'm going to take that title. I'm going to take it.
Take it. I not like I'll need it.
I was the first, okay, first ever Eddsworld kid as of 2003, 2004.
You see that, people? Nobody can take that away from him. I won't let people take that away from you.
I'm immensely like I'm thrilled and about like all the other people, like, you know, kind of like starting out kind of like with the Eddsworld like kind of aesthetic. I think that's awesome, and yeah, it's great. I fully support it.
And now, and of course, the reason why I brought you on here is not because I wanted the opportunity to do so, and because I just love talking to you, but because me and a bunch of other of my friends were getting together and making a full-on like 70-minute Eddsworld movie, with like with a script and a crew and all that. What are your thoughts on that idea?
I mean, I think it's great. Like, it's when we were talking about the future of Eddsworld to Ed's family, the Eddsworld movie was one of the things that we kind of like we brought up. We had a little document about what we, you know, the where we see Eddsworld going, and one of the things we suggested was like that we thought it'd be quite nice if you just left it to the Eddsworld audience, the fans, and that, and because, you know, people like you guys are the ones who are keeping it alive. Like, there's a part that's like, we don't need to make more because you guys are making more, and you're running with it. You're taking this world that Ed created and essentially doing what we're doing. Like, essentially what Eddsworld Legacy is it can never be much more than Eddsworld fan animations, just very officially looking ones. So if I had my way, I would make Eddsworld, you know, just public domain and just be like, it is yours now. But there are other plans. So
Right.
yeah, I like the idea of working in like 10-minute segments, the way that all kind of cartoons do. You know, Steven Universe, Adventure Time, like they work in these kind of 11-minute chunks, and that's where I'd like to go in the future. Is I'd like to work in 11-minute cartoons, because you get to tell like a little story per episode, but then you tell a big story over the course of it, and that's what excites me the most. I think you can do both, but you know, a movie is really cool though.
Sometimes I notice that with a lot of creators, they come up with stories that are big enough so that they can go past like the 11-minute mark. And I think this is one of those.
But like what was really weird is, you know, like we were working on the End Part 1, the End Part 2, and Lunatics kind of over the course of about a year after Power Ed, and it meant that like nothing was coming out. And it's like three of the biggest Eddsworld episodes, but the two biggest Eddsworld episodes of Legacy, which is, make sure I'm not wrong, which is Lunatics and the End Part 2, are coming out pretty much back to back. Everyone was like, yeah, why didn't you release more content? It's like, we just can't, like, it's just being animated, oh my god. So just people yelling, just a lot of yelling. So
It doesn't matter. Patience is quite surprising.
yep. But I'm glad to finally be able to reveal what we've been working on this whole time. So it's why like Eddsworld went from being like deadly silent to like, oh shit, for like the past 6 months.
So in general, are you excited to see the Eddsworld movie?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I have one last question written here. If there's anything that you haven't said to the Eddsworld fan base that you would like to say now, what would it be?
I guess it would just be, please don't be mad at me for leaving. Because, you know, one of the things that I can never really do, one of the things I had to do when I took over Eddsworld was, one of the reasons I made myself the face of Eddsworld was not because I wanted the fame or the recognition, but it was so that only I would, by and large, receive the outrage and the hatred that I knew we were going to get, because I didn't want the animators to get it and then quit. Like, so I've put myself. I've taken responsibility for as much as I can, and I've done, I've made a lot of people dislike me, like the audience, by. I mean, nowadays towards the end of it, I don't really care about saying it. Like, I've taken responsibility for things that were my screw up quite a lot.
As did Vlad, really?
Hey,
it wasn't me. It was them.
Yeah,
I saw the complaints in Fun Dead.
I remember.
There's like that Easter egg there where they're at the complaint table, and there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. But like, I mean, those are still so spot on. Like, oh my god. But yeah, I just want to say, like, I know it sounds really whingy, but my god, I did my absolute best. We all did, and I just hope people, like, with Eddsworld Legacy, the plan was to only make one more year. Like, if you go on the Indiegogo, it always said, one more year of Eddsworld. Well, here we are, you know, nearly at 4 years, and I've got to move on now. And I hope people are just happy with what we've made, and they're not upset that I'm not going to be making any more. And I hope they understand, because a lot of people, like, I understand that you're not going to make any more, but why won't you still voice the character of Tom? And the reason why is because I need to detach. Like, there's such a huge mental, like, it would be emotionally impossible for me to move on from Eddsworld and still be a part of it. Like, even just my voice, like, knowing that still being a part of it is would be too hard, and I wouldn't be able to, you know, start grieving my friend, which I really should start doing at some point. You know, it's in 2 weeks it'll have been 4 years since he died, and I should probably get to work on that. So yeah, that's all I want to say is that, like, I hope you like what we've done. I'm sorry it took as long as it did, and please don't be mad at me because, oh my god, I am emotionally frail.
Well, I'm very happy with what's been done with the show, and I think it's gone in the exact direction that I was kind of expecting it to go. Like, you've definitely improved a lot on the storytelling aspect, and the characters definitely feel more like characters. So you do a really good job with that.
Thank you very much. Well, yeah, I think one of the biggest things everyone had a problem with Eddsworld Legacy was the shorts, because they are the kind of the more offbeat ones. But I think, you know, Fun Dead, Power Ed, Lunatics. Like a lot of people like disagreed with the animation style for Lunatics, but personally, it's my absolute favorite in terms of story. I think it's just a really nice, well put together story. But I think
the one where you took a lot of ideas from Ed's sketchbooks?
No, I mean, yes, like the name and the opening sequence, yes, but the actual narrative, very different. Like, yeah, I mean, Ed's sketchbook was like, they all go into a museum and they find Ed's old sketchbook, and then we go to the Old West, and there is Old West versions of them, and then it was kind of like, then we wrote our own narrative around that. There were some radically different versions of it. Like, one of them was going to be that, like, I think one of the original versions was they were all going to be bank robbers. They were going to be bad guys. I love Lunatics personally. Like, again, like, I know a lot of people didn't like the animation style. Personally, I did, but I get that, like, probably not the best place to try something radically different was the Eddsworld channel, being that, you know, essentially one of my jobs there is to keep it as it was. But I don't know. I liked it. But yeah, so I don't even know why I started saying that. Either way, I just hope people enjoyed it. Really.
I just remembered I had one more question. I forgot to write this down. But we have Tals and Charles, one of the people working on the movie. He's gonna be voicing Tom. So if he's watching, would you give him any advice? Because I know Matt gave James, guy playing Matt, some advice on how to play Matt. So what would your advice be?
Yeah, I actually had to work with Matt to change his voice as a character. I was like, whenever we record anything, I go, be squeakier, be squeakier. Because Matt's actual speaking voice is very low and monotone, kind of like mine. I was like, we need to differentiate the characters, so you should be the squeaky one. So Matt in Eddsworld talks more like I do in Crash Team. But, I mean, for me, my warm-up exercise for whenever I voice Tom is I go, Ed, because Tom is always kind of talking like he's asking a question. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, he's always kind of talking with an upwards inflection. He's always got a bit of a question on his mind. Yeah, sure.
Next time you take him.
Yeah, you know what? Next time you take him. Like, he's like kind of like, he's got a little bit of a squeak to him, but he's mostly kind of bassy. The biggest factor is trying to mimic my crazy Americanized English accent. Like, that's one thing that, like, if they do continue the cartoon, like, I have no idea how they're going to replace my voice. Like, no one sounds like me.
Well, our guy comes pretty close, in my opinion.
No, it doesn't. Well, good luck to him. But yeah, just like warm up by asking a lot of questions. Ed is my routine. I say it about 50 times. Like any Eddsworld line, like even like back in like second generation Eddsworld, like any recording, it starts me going, Ed.
Ed. Well, I think that's it. And since we're here, I just want to say, I'm very grateful to you and Eddie for letting me and Billy work on the show and letting me do comics. And it's just been, and doing, using my music for the Halloween special.
Yeah, please, God say, please do the zombie attack. Like no one's done it.
Which zombie attack? 1 or 3?
Zombie attack 1.
All right. I'll get around to that.
I mean, I sign out on March 16th, dude.
I better get that done soon then.
No, yeah, thank you so much. Like, I mean, first of all, like, let's just go over that music. Like, that was incredible. Like, it was definitely like the best. It was just, it absolutely blew me away. I was watching the whole thing, like, holy shit! Like, did he what?
I just powered through that because I had so much other stuff to do.
Oh yeah, you procrastinated. That's the best way though. Secondly, with the comics, with both the comics and the illustrations that I commissioned for the beginning of the end part 1, like they were like amazing. Like, I just think it was so nice to to have someone who really truly got Ed's style. Not that I ever really approached anyone being like, do Ed's style, but like the fact that you could was just so awesome and so nice. And then yeah, to you and Billy for the animations. Again, that just adds such a wonderful charm to these episodes. And yeah, you guys just did an absolutely like cracking job, and I love that it's confused people as well. Like you've done such a good job. People are like, was this deleted Ed anime? That's really, really funny to me. I think that's absolutely great. So yeah, no, you guys absolutely crushed it, and yeah, like we're super, super grateful just for everything. So and not just to you though. Like I mean, obviously we're talking about you right now, but to all the comic artists, David, Sophie, Ben, like everyone who chipped in, all the animators, obviously. Like it was just. It's been so great, like, to work with so many creative people. It started out so rocky. I managed to piss off everyone under the sun. I wasn't a very good manager or boss at the start, but I think we got better. But yeah, so just thank you so much, like, for everything you've done and for keeping, Ed's just keeping it going. I mean,
I'm still looking through all of his old doodles on DeviantArt, just trying to mimic all those techniques he did. I'm getting better.
Yeah, but one thing I will say as well is that I hope that like you guys do the Eddsworld movie, and then you also start focusing on you kind of like your own things. As in the same way that I am, I think it's important that we all do at some point start focusing on our own stuff, because you guys have so much drive and like passion and talent, and I hope to see like a lot more from you guys in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I got my own web series I like to do, and if you ever need me to do music for like your own videos, just hit me up. I'll gladly do it.
Yeah, man, I'll let you know. I'm pretty sure Todd's gonna keel over and die any minute now. Like he doesn't sleep. So when that inevitably happens, I'll hit you off.
Okay. I also like to show the camera this picture of the badly drawn Paul that I have on my desk and framed. I like to.
Are we talking about Powell right now?
Yeah, pal. I like to keep it on my desk for motivational purposes.
Yeah, I feel so weird about that picture because it's like we all sincerely love it, but like essentially we are just like, haha, look at this not very good fan art. It's essentially really mean, but it's just such a good, so good. I hate this part. I like I'm just holding this knife like most of the interview. I just hold knife. That's what I do. But yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. It's been good, and I hope.
Thanks for agreeing to do this, and thanks to Eddie for helping us set this up.
There's Eddie.
No worries.
I really can't do emails. Oh, and I just see that the Eddsworld documentary has finished exporting. Hurrah!
What great timing.
Yeah. And that's good
this
because we need to
interview.
upload it now.
So, any links you'd like to plug?
Nah. I mean, I went through the entirety of Eddsworld with people being like, "Tom's just using it to promote his channel," even though I totally, pretty much have never done that. So I think I'll leave with grace as well.
All right.
But
besides, people know who you are.
I guess I'll say a little bit of an announcement, just kind of for the love of it. Like after we leave, after I leave Eddsworld, all I really can say is that Ed's mum and family are taking over the show, and I wish them the absolute best of luck with it. I hope they keep the comics going, if nothing else. And yeah, thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much, obviously, to the Eddsworld fandom. If there's anyone watching this that isn't angry at me for leaving, just thank you for always being there. Thank you for supporting everything, and good luck. Keep drawing. Why do we do one thumbs up? One of these thumbs is deficient.
Okay. Well, you're a righty, aren't you?
I'm a lefty.
Oh, so that's definitely a problem. This has definitely been a blast. I hope we can do something like this again when it's not being recorded and uploaded to the internet.
Next time I'm in New Jersey.
All right. So you want to give a sign out?
Gosh. Thank you for watching Eddsworld. Thank you for watching this. Please write in the comments below how your favorite point in which I literally took something Mark said and then just talked for a straight 20 minutes. Because I can't see your face at all during this, so it makes me wonder, because there must have been bits for like 10 minutes where you're just sitting there.
Well, my face is on the Eddsworld wiki, so.
Yeah, but there must be bits where you're just like you've just lost the will to live. It's like I won't shut up.
No. Honestly, I've really just enjoyed listening in on you going off tangent. I really legitimately enjoyed that.
I'm like a human tangent. I was brought literally today. I got called into Google for them to ask my opinions on some changes they're making to the website, and I just talked for an hour, and I'm so good at it. They ask me to do it sometimes. But yes, thank you so much, and I guess I do the TomSka out thing.
Yeah, for this one, go ahead. I'll do it.
Good.
Too.
Well, I already did it, so use it again.
All right.
All right. Bye.
See ya.